Hello everyone. I have been wanting to play some Last Epoch and put it on YouTube for quite a while. I really love this game, and so I thought maybe I'd just record the leveling process of a hardcore Necromancer, or Acolyte, as it were. So yeah, if this is something that interests you, then welcome. And if not, well, I understand. It's not for everyone. That being said, let's get started, and let's turn our sound back on. I usually listen to music, but you know, don't think don't think we're gonna do that on today's little recording. So we will make this a solo character. So we can only use equipment that we find on the ground. Make it hardcore. We're not gonna make it masochist because I'm not a masochist. All right.
I am the Acolyte. I was raised in the city of Welrin amongst countless books and countless fools. My master was a kind man, but he was as useless as the others. My ambitions took me elsewhere, to the arts forbidden by the elders of the city. I was found out and exiled. They feared my power. I've learned so much in my travels since, but word has come that Welrin has been conquered. I would like to see this with my own eyes.
All right. So we're in chapter 1, the road to Welrin. So when you're playing Acolyte, even though we're going to spec into minions, you start off with this skill called Rip Blood. Basically lets you deal damage and heal yourself.
Elders remember me. They'll realize exiling me was a mistake.
This game is an ARPG, in case you haven't ever played it. And I'm going to rebind this skill setup. I want Rip Blood on my mouse button. You can see the little blood orbs coming back to you. And this skill, when it's scaled properly, can really make you quite tanky. A lot of people use it as a support for their minion builds. Not entirely sure we're going to do that. We'll just kind of see what we find along the way. Okay, nice. There's a silver ring. You can see it auto-equipped it. It gave us some bonus movement speed, which just helps you get away from attacks faster. It's weird. When you think of movement speed, you might be like, well, okay, now you can run through the campaign faster, run through the in-game content faster. But really, it just helps you get away from mobs, which can be invaluable. Alright, so there's our first skill unlocked. Summon Skeleton. It starts off kind of weak, but it really scales drastically as you increase in levels. Minions in this game actually get their power from your levels, as well as they get help from their levels. But you can see, under their tag right here, skeletons have 100 base health. You can use A to command your minions, so you could raise them like this and say, hey, go over here, or go fight this thing, etc. And you start with a default of 3, and we want more archers than skeleton warriors. As you level, right, you'll get these passive skills that you can put into different trees to specialize, as well as actually the skills themselves. Right here. So as we continue to use this skill on our hotbar, it will gain experience as well, and the skills will become stronger over time, and you can specialize in them. Not like a crazy amount of options, but enough to make interesting choices. Alright, and I was saying about your minions, gain health and damage from your intelligence, and they have something called minion power. And minion power scales with your character level. So on a minion build, you'll get items that make your minions better, but also if you're ever feeling too weak or like your minions just aren't doing enough damage, maybe get a few more levels in the zone level that you're at and see if that helps your minions. We're just gonna destroy all this junk, looking for something. And there's always a static chest that spawns right here in this zone. We got some leather gloves. This gives us a little bit of armor. Some things that we could sell, hopefully. I think this is going to be a little bit better. Yeah, so we get 16 health from this. That's nice. It's a nice find right off the get-go. And the rest of this is crap. And right now we will pick up crap because we want to finish slotting our equipment early on. Thought there was a quick option to sell items, but maybe not. Alright, so we do want to get some boots. None of these seem to have any affixes, so we'll just grab some generic ones.
Ill-suited, ill-suited.
Oops, there we go. Grab this chalice so that we can get some HP regen going on. I don't really care too much about dodge rating. We'll be okay without it. And I would have liked to have gotten a shield, but I don't see any. Unfortunately. And you can talk to these NPCs if you want. Some of them have interesting things to say. But mostly you only need to talk to NPCs that have icons above their heads to get quest markers and update, or not update, but progress the story. Hello there, bear.
Feel my wrath.
Okay, now we get a skill called Marrow Shard, which we're not going to use very much on this character. Basically, you spend your health to shoot out a bunch of projectiles. They do pretty decent damage, honestly. Early on, it's a great source to help your clear, but we won't need it for too long. We also get our first passive point. And you'll see that there's two specializations of Acolyte that are currently available. Both of them are locked to us for a little bit. To make ourselves relatively safe, as well as give pretty decent scaling, I think we'll put 1 point into bone armor, just to help out our character a little bit, and make our minions a little bit more tanky. And if you go to your character sheet, you can actually look at your armor and how much damage it's going to be mitigating. So if we take a hit from physical damage, we'll reduce 13% of the physical damage. And you can also see under the tooltip, armor is only 70% as effective against non-physical damage, mitigating 9% of that damage, which isn't terrible, honestly. Just any source of damage that you're taking being reduced by, at a minimum, 9%. It's not bad early on. It's not something... We don't want to like put the next 7 passive points we get into armor, but we want it a little bit early on, just so we don't get cheesed by anything that might generate. Some of that will come from crafting better items. But obviously right now we don't have anything to craft with, and we don't have any good item types to use so early on in the game. Right. So that was our first introduction to the Osprix. And we're going to learn a lot about them as we go. Basically, this guy is saying something about a shard and to go find it. His daughter has it. And we're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, go find it. And you're like, okay, I'll do it. But not because I'm a nice person. And also, if you're playing this for your first time, don't worry about experimenting with skills or passives either, because you can respect both. Alright, so here we got our first specialization slot. And let me show you how that works. So you'll click on the skill, and you'll allocate one of your passive abilities. And once you do, the skill will be specialized, and basically starts upgrading as the skill itself levels. Okay, now for me, I like skeleton archers, so I want to go ahead and start making my way into 1, getting more skeletons, because more skeletons means more damage, and 2, isolating them so that only skeleton archers can be summoned. So you can see here, this gives you +1 to maximum number of skeletons, this gives you +1 to maximum number of skeletons. There should be more. Here's another one that gives you +1 to skeletons. And so you want to hit those nodes. I would get at least 4 or 5 skeletons before specializing in archers only. But, you know, for the purposes of this playthrough, why don't we just go ahead and specialize right from the get-go with archers. So we'll need at least 3 points in Unholy Rage, which will give all of our skeletons an additional 15% attack speed, cast speed, and move speed. Which you can kind of think of as just a sort of damage multiplier, right? If you're attacking 5% faster, and your base attack was 1 per second, then it's literally a 5% multiplier. Anytime you allocate passives to your minions, you need to resummon them, so that the current summon version of them has the new stats. We also have another passive point. So now we'll just give our minions... In fact, I think a lot of build guides go with Blood Aura, but we're going to take Intelligence, because it makes them tankier, gives them more life and more damage, and it gives us a little bit of necrotic resistance. It's not something we're going to need for a while, but it'll be good to have later in the game. If we go back to our character sheet now, we got our minions. You can see 2 things. One where minion power character level. Oh, that's right, they changed it, sorry. You don't get minion power until level 26. It used to be different, but they recently changed it, so just ignore what I just said about minion power. Till level 26 anyways. But if we go here, press Alt, look at the tag again, you can see the intelligence scaling. Now that we have 3 intelligence, our minions are gaining an additional 15 health, as well as an additional 12% damage, because they get 4 per point of intelligence. So if you're stacking intelligence instead of raw damage, I think it's a bit better, just because, you know, your minions are able to last longer and still get close to the same amount of damage. It also helps your character. I'm not throwing a lot of information at anyone who's a new player right now. Give me 1 second to kill these guys. But if you go back to your character and you hover over intelligence itself, you'll see that you have something called ward retention. That each point of intelligence gives you 4% word retention. Your spells would also scale with intelligence. For example, another 4% to each one of these. We don't really care too much about that because we're not going to use these for long. But the important thing... Oh shit, what was I talking about? I already lost my train of thought. I got distracted by that belt. I was like, oh, I need to put this on, and then I forgot what I was saying. Oh well. That is the life. Oh, right. We were talking about ward retention. Jesus. So ward is sort of like, if you ever play Path of Exile, it's like Energy Shield. Or if you haven't played Path of Exile, whenever I get some ward, I'll explain it in more detail then. There's actually a really weird build you can do with zombies where you'll like constantly be casting them and then they explode. But when they explode, they'll give you ward based on the total life of the zombie. And if you see this little icon on the screen, this is a shrine. This one's not that interesting for us. It's a stunning shrine. And we're casting spells, so you can see that we are still stunning, but stun threshold is much better on melee, in my opinion, than spellcasters. Alright, that guy's down. And if you're new to this game, one of the most important things to remember is just keep moving. You know, do an attack move, do an attack move, do an attack move. Because a lot of abilities from monsters are going to be ranged, and they're not like homing missiles where they're going to come onto you. So if you just get into that habit of move, attack, you'll dodge probably 70% of damage just from having proper movement. And I'd actually, to save your wrists, one thing you can do is just hold down the left mouse button, and that'll make you move. And when you want to use a skill, you can just use it. Like it won't interrupt your movement, other than to cast the ability, obviously. That way, you know, you're not lifting up your hand every single time you need to click to move. And that'll just save your wrist some unnecessary strain. And you can see one of our minions already died. That's okay though. And early on, we don't have that much damage, and that's okay. We've got a new skill, Harvest. We're never going to use that. It's a melee damage over time ability, and we're not scaling damage over time at all. Really, we're not going to use Marrow Shards either. Wandering Spirits is okay. It's another damage over time skill that summons a bunch of little ghosts out of the ground. It sounds like it would be a minion skill, but it's not. It's actually just a spell. You can see our skeletons got another point, so let's give them an additional point in Unholy Rage, so that next level we can get another skeleton. Okay. And you can kind of see, like, this doesn't do anything for us, it doesn't have any minion abilities, but here's an upgrade for one of our ring slots. So we'll drop 7 and 4, we'll drop the one with 4% modifier, grab this dodge rating, and the only thing that we really care about is the additional dodge rating and the increased health regeneration. And if you go to your character sheet, again, you can look at your dodge rating as well, right? So we have a 9% chance to dodge all hits, not like damage over time or anything, but hits from monsters. And of the damage that we don't dodge, we'll reduce it by 9 to 13%. And make sure we allocate our passive for some more intelligence. resummon our mobs, minions, Jesus Christ. And here you'll learn about the Shard of the Epoch. And once you take the shard, a time rift will open up, which is a pretty big premise of this game. And that was Act 1. It was really short, sweet, and sort of a tutorial act to teach you the game.
What just happened? This place is fascinating.
You can see you're in the ruined era.
Bless Atera's name.
And this guy basically is just like, what are you doing out here? Everyone who's alive still is fighting, you know, in town. Or not really a town, but in the inner sanctuary. And he's like, make your way there. Oh nice, a chest. Let's grab that. Nothing good. But we will take, I guess, some of these to sell. So if you've ever played in the old Diablo games, you'll be very familiar with gambling for items. And you can do that in this game as well. There's another shrine, another stunning shrine. Not that happy about it. That's okay though. One thing you'll want to be on the lookout for in the early game is resistance to fire and void damage, right? Most of the damage that you'll be seeing around here is going to be void, and some of the areas that you're coming up on will be fire. So keep a special eye out for any items with fire and void resistance. This is much better than our current chalice. Some health, cast speed, better regen built into the base affixes of the relic, and some extra mana for casting. So we'll take that. This game does have item filters. Let me remember how to turn it on. I have a pre-built filter that I borrowed from the forums. That it's pretty good for general purposes. But as you get experience, there might be certain items that you're looking for, so you might want to tweak your loot filter. I'm trying to remember how to turn it on. Haven't played in a couple months. You know, I'm just going to pause real quick because I don't want to waste your time. Okay, so it's actually in settings. You go to gameplay and you go to loot filters, manage loot filters, right? And you can see that I'm using an old loot filter. We're on beta 0.8.3e, and my loot filter is actually for 0.82. So I'm gonna go grab an updated loot filter and I'll be back. So making the loot filter is pretty simple as well, and I'll just guide you through that real quick. If you're on the forums, which is just oh my god, it's just forum.lastepoch.com. There'll be a post there by Heavy Z, casual loot filters for all classes. You can grab a loot filter from there for whatever class you're playing. And you'll just copy the XML, and then once you're in game, just go to settings, go back to manage loot filters. We're going to delete these real quick. Adios. And let me just delete these as well. Okay, and one more. These are some that I made. And you'll just go here, make a new filter, and instead of creating new filter, I just want to paste clipboard contents. Right? And it will automatically do that for you. You don't have to control V or anything like that. It's just whatever's in your clipboard just went into this filter. And we will call this Necromancer General. Description's pretty good. Right, and let's give it a nice blue color. Okay, and now there are some optional things. It's not these aren't relevant to us because we are a solo character, so none of our alts will ever be able to access this gear. But I do recommend taking these two. One, this will help you find items with interesting affixes that you may want to use. And as we play, we'll find these things called Runes of Shattering, which will let us dismantle gear and get shards that have the properties of the gear that we can use for crafting. And I'll show you that relatively soon, hopefully. I don't know if we're going to craft too heavily on this character anytime too soon, because they're about to make a change where when you fail to craft something, currently you can do what's called shattering, which kind of locks the item how it is, with no further modifications able to take place to it. They're about to make some changes to that system, so if we find like a lot of materials and we really just need an upgradable craft, but I don't want to get too heavy into it right now. Not until the new changes come out.
Feel my wrath.
Oh yeah, if you saw that tooltip, it just said minions take 50% less damage from all sources. And they do. They can be quite tanky. And you want them to be tanky, so that your DPS doesn't suffer.
Yes? Gods be with you.
And as you can see, I mean, I'm sure you've already seen it, but all of your quest objectives will show up over here. And you have a journal that you can look at as well, in case you ever get lost. But ultimately, it's quite straightforward.
Minimus, run you stupid mutt.
Nice, level 6. Let's grab some more intelligence and necrotic resistance. And don't be afraid to resummon your skeletons if you need better positioning. Like say a wall of mobs is rushing at you or something, feel free to just spam one right in front of you to make them target the minion instead of you. Alright, so now we can get another minion at level 3, and we will. You can only have equal amounts of minions until you specialize in one, so if we resummon, you'll see we'll always have 2 sword and shield skeletons and 2 archer skeletons. Okay, now you can see with the loot filter, items for our class are highlighted in green. And now you can see that this is the first item that will interact with the ward, and it gives us some additional ward retention. So let me just show you that real quick. So when we drink a potion, we get a little bit of a ward. That's going to show up right here. You can see it gave us 10 ward. Now we have 8. So the more ward retention you have, the slower ward decays. When you get ward, it starts to basically decay. But while you have ward, all damage is reduced by the amount of ward that you have. It's like basically an addition to your life pool, right? And in the lick tree and the base acolyte tree, you can actually get quite a lot of ward from killing enemies. We're going to do something with ward that is probably kind of cheesy, but very, very strong defensively. And I'll show you how to do that once we get to it, but it's a little too complex to explain with words. Won't see it probably for at least a couple of hours, but once you do see it, you'll see how freaking busted it is. Mana, health, and cast speed. That's much better than what we're currently wearing, so we'll take it. Okay, so here's some of our first shards. I think we got one from here as well. Yeah. So your shards, you just collect them in your inventory, and to make them useful for crafting, you just want to transfer crafting items from your inventory. There you go. And if you open up the forge, with F, by the way, you could put an item inside of here. Actually, I don't think this will work for our weapon. Right. But for, say, these leather boots, now we could take this shard and be like, oh, hey, I got a rating shard for dodge rating. Let's add this to our item. And you can see, currently, because the item has 0 instability, there's a 100% chance that this crafting shard will be applied. And we'll add some instability to our item. Okay? There's a critical success, so the modifier got more than it normally would have, giving us more dodge. Which is nice. Very nice. And if you go here, you can see all shards that you currently have available. And we don't have any more shards that are available for these boots. So we'll just put them back on. And you can see that we're probably much better at dodging, a whole 4% just from that one little upgrade. We'll take that to sell. So crafting's, it's really straightforward in this game, pretty intuitive. What you want to craft is less intuitive and something you'll understand better as you play more characters. Learn what they need and want to thrive. Here's a little special item if you're interested called Captain's Ring. I never use it. It just gives you stun avoidance. Not something I personally want. I got our first amulet, which gave us some... already gave us some extra minion damage. Anything with the commander suffix in its name will give your minions extra damage. And we got a hat finally, which gives us some extra spell damage and armor. And we randomly just got level 7 for some reason. That's interesting. Let me allocate my passives. Now you can see we have access to the rest of these. Which are some really good points. This one will make you and your minions very survivable. 1 point of vitality gives you 10 health, which is really nice, and increases your health regeneration by 2%. And then here, this will give your minions increased attack speed, which is basically a multiplier for your damage. It's really good. Really good points. Bone Curse, it's okay. Apply Curse to enemies in an area for 8 seconds that causes physical damage when hit. It's not that great, honestly. I probably won't use it for this build. And to me, I'd rather... Oh, finally a shield. Shields are really good in this game. I highly recommend them. There's a unique item for minions that... No, it's a one-hand. Never mind. Ignore me. I lied to you. But you can see, like, even this low-level shield gives us a 16% chance to block. Block effectiveness, we'll go into that in a second. And some elemental resistances. So our character got so much more survivable just by finding... you know, like a regular shield off the ground. They're highly defensive, and I really do recommend using one in hardcore. Some added armor, that's nice. Here's a different type of Alkalite-specific relic that's just for spell damage, but we don't really care about that. Oh, block effectiveness. So, block mitigation. The percentage by which damage is reduced when you block a hit. Okay? Block mitigation is increased by block effectiveness and reduced by the level of enemies in the area. Okay? So we have a 16% chance to block, and if we block, we'll reduce damage by 34%. In addition to our armor reduction and chance to dodge. So you really in a lot of games, maybe you might specialize in a specific defense, and you certainly could do that in this game too. For Necromancers, I highly recommend picking either dodge and block or armor and block. You don't really want to rely on just one. There's a nice upgrade for our belt. I can put it on. And I think we'll go ahead and put some more armor onto this chest piece. Oh, right. I forgot to transfer. There we go. See, we have 16 more armor. So now we're at 15% damage reduction. Oh yeah, and if you press tab, it brings up this little overlay map. Pretty useful for getting around. I don't know why this was giving us the mastery icon. It may have just been left over from before. Nice. Intelligence shard. That's really nice to find. So we'll go ahead and use that as well, so that we can get more minion damage and ward effectiveness. And I think we'll put that on our cap. Nice. Critical success, 25 health. That's really nice. And you can see, now that we have 5 instability, the chance to craft is at 95%. Right? There we go. Yep. And as we get more health and intelligence shards, it's not like that we're done crafting health and intelligence forever. If we found more shards with those modifiers, then we could continue to stack. Depending on your character level, you could continue to stack those crafting modifiers.
Wither before me.
And that's sort of the premise, I guess, for a lot of RPGs, is just those incremental upgrades, slowly improving your character over time to deal with more and more dangerous threats, right? We're gonna run back over here to grab this little icon down here, part of the side quest.
Feel my wrath.
And if you want to kill everything, you know, feel free. But you certainly don't have to.
Farewell.
Yay, gold. There we go. So we unlocked our second spell specialization. Now, you might be tempted to grab one of these spells, but I don't recommend it for a pure minion build, which is what we're doing. Our next options could be Transplant, which is a movement skill, Summon Bone Golem, which is another minion that is basically like going to tank for you. Or we could hold off and take Summon Volatile Zombie, which is going to be our engine for generating ward later on. I think we'll wait and go ahead and take Transplant. Being able to move to an area at will it's a good thing to do. It's a very defensive option. It's going to keep you safe, keep you healthy. And we're going to swap out these gloves for some more minion. Oh, those are nice gloves. Minion damage, armor, and health. You'd love to see that early on. So now we have the question of, do we want more intelligence and necrotic resistance? Not really. I think we'll go a more defensive option, get some more vitality, health, and minion health. Just to help ourselves, make sure that we're going to stay alive, because it is hardcore. In softcore, without the dangers of a permanent death, I would just say just go full minion damage. No big deal. Because there's no real consequences to dying. Personally, I know there's just like this weird debate between people, between softcore and hardcore. Like some hardcore players think that they are interesting or special because they play hardcore, but for me, it's more like I care more about my character because like once they die, they're just gone forever. So it kind of motivates me to like play better and think about like building a character that has good survivability, good damage. It just makes the game more interesting for me personally. But, you know, if you want to play softcore or you don't want to play solo with like shared stashes and stuff, then, you know, you should do what you want to do. I just think it's weird that people get like so up in arms about the topic. So even though this gives us more minion damage, I went ahead and take this because it has some fire resistance, which we will need in abundance pretty soon. You can see we really don't have that many great clearing skills right now, which is just the way it is on a minion build early on. And I was thinking we'd go fire minions. On the skill, you can have your minion specialize in an element type. So I think we'll turn these archers into fire archers. Whenever we get our golem, we'll give him this like aura of burning that like scorches everything inside of his little aura. Maybe we summon because the health's getting kind of low. As well as skeletal mages. I would just have them like shooting out a bunch of fireballs. Alright. None of those are useful to us. You can see we're really cranking out the damage. When it comes to single target anyways. Sure, you turn in your quests. Get some gold and experience. Nice. Skeletons are now level 4, so we'll put one more point into Unholy Rage, and next turn we can start specializing into our archers, right? 2, 3, 4. I declare a Thumb War. Here's the shard. You get a passive point, which is nice. You can learn more about the game lore here and what the heck's going on. Make sure you accept the quest from him, and make sure you accept this quest as well.
Go on then.
Gold will save you.
So this is the guy where you can gamble items from. He wants you to betray the mage, but we're not going to do that because the item he gives you isn't worth it.
These items might be your best bet.
And here you can see you can gamble, right? We might want a staff, but also it's kind of expensive to gamble. We don't really have that much money. There may be pieces of gear that we'd rather buy. But I'm pretty content with what we have. Maybe a better ring than the dodge speed, but doesn't look like there's anything available to us except silver and jade, and I'm not going to spend money to refresh, so let's just move on. Over here, if you're unhappy with your build, you can go ahead and respec your mastery points with Necromancer Larine. In fact, I'll probably go ahead and respec this tree to get rid of Bone Aura. We don't really need it now.
Smile upon you.
Usually just like to take a point in it early on for the first boss and leave it at that. I'll check the shop real quick. Don't see any base items that I want. Unfortunately. These boots are pretty good. We'll take these because they have more armor and an elemental resistance. And we'll sell all this junk. And we almost have enough to buy a Rune of Shattering.
Follow your feet.
We haven't actually found any... Oh, here's a test on me, by the way, if you want to see what your damage looks like. We don't really care. Oops, what was that? There we go. So we're going to go ahead and respec these real quick. It costs a little bit of gold. It's not that big a deal. It's like 30 gold to go back those 2 points. Jesus, come on, fingers. So I'm just going to put one more point into Forbidden Knowledge, and then I'll use my next 2 points to split between these. Get damage and life.
Do not dwell on regret.
Darn it. Sometimes these tables will drop loot. I don't know what, or they may, I don't know if they still do, but they used to drop loot. Each destroyable object is sort of treated as an instance of a chest, and you have a chance to get, sometimes you find some really good loot from them. Like a crafting shard. Useless for us, but...
Feel my wrath.
So good so far. Nice. Health on kill shard's nice. Especially if we were playing something that's not a Necromancer. Witch robes, Pyromancer's Copper Chalice, none of those things that we want. Bones. Oh, we found a Rune of Shattering. That's nice. Sometimes you'll find items that might have something that you want, like Vitality, right? Like, well, I already like the armor that I'm using, so I don't. It's better than having one Vitality. Now, normally you really shouldn't be using a shard. What is it called? A Rune of Shattering for a single affix item at level 1. But I just want to show you how it works real quick. It won't bother us too much. So you can either click it from use a modifier item, or you can just add it right here. It's up to you. And it shatters. When it shatters, you'll see we got 1 shard created, and 1 Vitality shard was sent to the forge, right? So we should be able to go ahead and throw that onto our piece. So there's some Vitality, which gives us more health. And you also can see that we can use an armor shard to upgrade the armor on it, which was what I mentioned earlier. So even at 10 instability, we have an 85% upgrade chance, so a 50% chance to fail. The penalty to upgrading increases as the tiers increase and as your instability increases. 85 is pretty good, so we'll take that chance. And this is a really nice starting chest piece for survivability. We're all the way up to 18% damage reduction. If you're following along, don't waste your Rune of Shattering on something like that, though. Alright, so now we got the skill Transplant finally. And we will go ahead and specialize on that. Your minions still increase damage for 4 seconds when you use Transplant, so that's a pretty sick buff to them. You leave behind a Bone minion. We're not everyone will sacrifice our minions, that'd be no-no. We don't really care about speccing into summoning Bone minions. When you use Transplant, you're granted Bone Armor for 4 seconds, which grants armor and less damage taken. It does have a 10-second cooldown. But it gives you 100 armor per point, 4% less damage taken per point. It's really strong. Scales with points. You can make it last longer. So you can make it go 7 seconds with a 10-second cooldown if you desire. You can get health regeneration. And you can get more effective armor. It's a crazy good skill. I'm trying to think right here. I recommend saving this for last. Your minions don't really need that much damage right now. I would take this, grab some points in it. I'd grab health regeneration. I would ignore this armor right here. It's not that great. The flat damage reduction is going to be way better. And then start making your way over here, which leaves a pool of blood. This will heal you and your minions, keeping them alive in really hard encounters. You could also go this way, but I wouldn't. You don't really want to increase the costs of a buff. So we're going to take this. Specialize. This is going to help us survive in hardcore. Let's go ahead and swap out our tree. And now we're going to start moving into what I call the chill phase, where you're going to stop really doing much clearing yourself. I don't know why I put that there. I put this on, put it on my mouse so that it's easy access at all times. And you can see you spend a little bit of health and get a, in my opinion, insane amount of buff. And I'm trying to decide if I want to split my damage and life or just focus on one in the early game. You can see that we do need 4 points to unlock this, which will make our minions very tanky, giving them up to 300 armor at level 100, which is quite good. Increased health regen is pretty good. Minion physical damage we don't care too much about because our plan is to go into fire damage. So you don't want to get this point at all. So I think for now, since we're taking a defensive option with Transplant, we'll go ahead and focus some more on minion damage. Okay. Let's go ahead and portal out. It's kind of funny, when you complete this quest, it lets you know that you can now use portals, but you really have access to them from the moment you start. And this will be your first introduction to unique items. Unless you were lucky and already found one, like from a shrine that drops unique. And this is really good for a mage. You can see that 3% of elemental damage is leads to health on these gloves. You get 30% increased leech rate, and you get plus 13 to all elemental resistances. Which is pretty good, honestly. But, I kind of like the gloves that I have, so I'm just going to sell this for some gold. Feel free to use them on your character if you need some elemental resistances. But I feel pretty comfortable at 17 this early on.
You may find a treasure, my friend.
Enjoy. And anytime you re-enter a zone, currently, it's going to repopulate all the monsters and things like that. So if there was a specific place you wanted to farm in the campaign, which you really shouldn't be needing to do that, but in case you do, you can always leave and come back. So now we're literally just going to let our minions do all the work from now on. We'll cast bow and armor when it's up, right? That's pretty decent. Probably not decent enough to warrant the Rune of Shattering, but still, pretty good gloves. And some people find this playstyle quite boring, because they're not actively doing that much. And I mean, I wouldn't say it's boring, but it's definitely chill. It's not standing that degen. Alright. Page Soul of Embers. There's some fire resistance if you needed it. Trying to think what we have. Life versus fire resistance. Yeah, I think we'll take that actually. As well as the Hay Shrine. Yay, now we're going fast. And if you really do get bored, you can always throw another skill back on, right? Hungering Souls is pretty fun. It doesn't do that much damage, but... You know, if you want to get through the campaign faster and you're like, oh, I don't want to sit here watching this. You know, throw on another skill. I wouldn't like throw on an entire skill bar's worth and try and like micromanage using all of them. So I kind of like relaxing during the campaign. It's just a fun time to just chill and do your own thing, you know? Increased spell damage, not really that relevant to us, but that's okay, we'll take it anyways. Okay, Dexterity Shard and Attunement. Both of those kind of useless to this build. So, go ahead and put our second point into this. So we have 8% less damage taken. And now we have access to Bone Armor Lasts Longer. I think we'll do that. I think we'll go ahead and spec straight into Health Regeneration just to be ultra safe. There we go. Actually, if you're not playing a Necromancer, this Hungering Souls ability, in my opinion, is just insane. There's a lot of guides out there for Wandering Spirits, that little ghost summoning thing that we saw earlier. I actually prefer Hungering Spirits. I like having some control over like what your skills do. And if you're used to like really fast boss killing, you know, this game really makes the bosses much more challenging encounters than most enemies. So, you know, do your thing. Remember that sometimes it's a battle of attrition. Just keep moving. Unless you're Paladin, in which case feel free to stand and do whatever you want. Alright. We could portal out, but let's just use this waypoint.
Feel my wrath.
Come back to the council chambers. Oh, I got bad heartburn.
Gods be with you.
Let's check the shop real quick. Shop changes every time you level up.
Yes.
Sell this junk. Anything good? Not really.
Stay safe.
Real quick, just to show how effective this skill actually is. Oh, is it not showing when we use it? That's lame. Yeah, you might have to hit a monster with it for it to show. We'll keep an eye on it, see. Oh. Jesus. I have to go take a tum. I'm dying over here. Yay, another rune of shattering. Okay, there we go. So you can see we have the 308 armor with 28% reduction, which is a huge amount of damage reduction. This early on, at least. Especially on a character who's not hyper specialized in armor. Nice. So this minimum skill level, basically, if you were to respec your skills, that means that they'll level up to level 2 immediately. Another Rune of Shattering. This is some really nice early game RNG. Normally I don't see Rune of Shattering till like Act 4 or 5. Oh, another unique. Very cool. Probably not something that we're gonna use. It looks like a mace. Yeah, the Hammer of Laurent. Pretty decent. 1 melee physical damage per level. 1% chance to stun per level. A pretty good chance to chill and a fat increase to melee phys. It's a cool hammer. Not something that we need, but we'll sell it for gold. Grab this. Go ahead and throw on some more armor, because why not? We're not high enough base level yet, so we'll throw on some health instead. Oh wait, no, I just didn't put it in my crafting thing. I lied to you. Take that, and some armor. Okay, there we go. We're not allowed to craft more armor till level 12. So I didn't lie to you. My brain was working correctly. Alright. This little spooky thing. Again, just don't stand still and you'll be fine. I don't think I have any void resistance though, so be careful. Unless you do. In which case, do what you want. You can see my minions are getting shredded by this guy's little attacks. unfortunate. I should have moved out from behind my minions so they wouldn't get smacked by that, but whatever. Now we're gonna go see our first intro to the era with dinosaurs and dragons, the ancient era. This is probably my favorite era, and I wish there was more of it. Most of it in the game is just like transitory content, unfortunately. Not that it's a bad thing, I just wish that there was like more of it.
Feel my wrath.
And no, the magma won't hurt you, don't worry. First time I saw that, I was like, oh no, I don't have a movement skill. What am I supposed to do? And I just was like, okay, guess I'll die. And you just walk right over it. Nice. Hello. 20% increased minion damage. It's pretty good. But we'll wait till I get more fire resistance first. Let's play it safe. You can see now that we went through the ancient cavern. We got a new quest to share your experience with someone in the council chambers. So let's go do that. You can also see, I don't know if you saw that when I clicked on it. Let me go back to the map. You can see, based on what quest you have selected, what its rewards are. Like this main quest right here will open up our idle inventory expansion, as well as give us some experience in gold. The armory aid gives us a passes point, right? And an ancient path gives you a pretty decent amount of experience in gold. So if you ever see a quest that doesn't have a reward that you really care about, feel free to skip it.
Greetings.
Although I will warn you that sometimes not doing quests will lock you out of other quests. It's not often that that's the case, but occasionally it is. And you can see this quest is a bit far in the future, but it'll also give us an idle inventory expansion. So make sure you do that one. Which I know is against what I just told you about selecting which quest you want to do or not do, but for the most part, maybe like 90% of the time, a quest will be singular, and it won't lock you out of doing other quests. And the worst thing that happens is you get to the end of the current acts, and you're missing like a slot or two in your idle inventory. You can just take one of those monoliths to go back in time and unlock it. Or sorry, waypoints. To go back in time and unlock it.
Feel my wrath.
Nice. So we got another point for our skeletons. Go ahead and get this. Gives us our skeletons a better chance to crit. And limits our warrior to 1 in the pool. Extra crit chance is pretty sweet. What kind of shrine was that? Critical shrine. We don't care about that too much. And I believe we go look at this skill real quick. I need to check and see if the increased crit chance is flat or additive, because I honestly don't remember. Okay, so it is additive. So now they have a 5% chance to crit, which is pretty good. 5% chance to do double damage. Basically a 10% damage multiplier. Which is not bad. So here's where you need fire resistance. So make sure you got some before you do this. Alright. Let's go ahead and grab this. Now we can summon our bone golem, which we definitely want. Go ahead and move this over here. And we'll wait for that cooldown before we go any further. There we go. Our big chunky boy. He's actually going to grab aggro. Enemies are more likely to attack him than you or your other minions. And you can increase that aggro so that pretty much everything will try and kill him. Which we will do at some point. So you really have so many defensive tools and options to you in the early game. Just a matter of finding them. Alright. So as always, don't stand in shit. You see this like burning ground over here, don't stand in that. Make sure you don't eat that lava, because if you take all that damage from that lava, you'll probably die. Even with 17 fire resistance. Just stay back. Your warriors are going to die, unfortunately. They're just not capable of standing toe-to-toe with this thing. And your minions don't have the greatest resistances early on. But there's options to scale that later if you want to. Let's wait for this lava to go away. And grab some of this loot. That's pretty good. Unlike a lot of other RPGs, you can get physical resistance baked into items. Our physical resistance is looking pretty decent right now, but say like you were a mage or something who wasn't wearing good armor, this might be something you might want to pick up. 14 increased minion damage, increased critical strike chance. Not that great. But, you know what, I think we will shatter this because I would like some more shards for minion damage. It's only tier 1, no, it's tier 2. So for every tier you have a chance to get an additional shard. Fortunately we only got 1, but that's okay. We'll want a lot of increased minion damage shards. Or at least I will. It's interesting. I don't remember there's a door at all. The upper district. It's weird. Oh, a Shrine of Wealth. Yay, shrine that we would like. Now you learn about crafting, although again you have access to it from the get-go. Thanks for the gold. Yay, you have 4,000 gold now.
Terra's grace be with you.
Alright. Oh, this game is a pretty chill experience right now. Don't worry, it'll get much harder as we progress. But in the early game, you know, it's not punishing. You can really just relax. Nice. Added health shard. And I'd like to keep crafting on the same item until it shatters, so I can just show you what it looks like. Unfortunately, there we go. It's great. Not level 12 yet? What level am I? 11. Okay. Just had a brain fart, that's all. Let's grab some vitality then. Ah, okay, it fractured. So it was a minor fracture, which is good, because that means the only thing that happens, you can't modify the item anymore. If you get a major fracture, sorry, not only are you not able to craft the item anymore, but it will destroy or lower some of the affixes that you've added to it. One nice thing though is if you make a really nice piece of equipment and it has a lot of the shards that you really love and want on it, you can always shatter it after you dumpster it. So it's not the end of the world. It certainly is annoying, don't get me wrong. Wood resistance. I probably should take that, honestly. But, oh well. It'd be good to have some void resistance, but we'll just play safe. Stay out of harm's way. We do have an 8% damage reduction with bone armor, so it's kind of like having void resistance. And eventually in the future we'll all want to specialize our bone golem as well, but we're gonna get zombies next at level 20. Texture so that boosts up deflection. That's a lot of physical resistance. So while there's some health regen, we might actually use those. That's pretty good. We'll miss the lightning resistance, but that's okay. Not all minion builds will have a golem. If you're going skeleton, archers, and mages though, I would recommend getting one. Just because when you don't have any skeleton warriors anymore, you won't have any melee frontliners to protect you. Assigned Charge of Life. 36 minion health, 6 to 8 blocked effectiveness, and 11 health for our character. Yeah, we're gonna take that. That's awesome. And it has an additional point in elemental resistances. That's a really nice shield. 2, 3, 4. I declare that war. Now this character won't ever need strength, dexterity, or attunement. Really the only stats we'll care about in this character are vitality and intelligence. But I still like to pick up shards. Because I'm a hoarder. You can see this actually gives us 4 intelligence, which is quite a good bit of scaling compared to this Cage Soul of Embers, as well as fire resistance and minion damage. So this is a really nice item to find this early in the game. So we'll throw that on. Oh no, you know what? I lied to you. This would replace our shield. Never mind. If you were in softcore, I would totally take that in a heartbeat. But I'm planning on using a shield on this character, so it is what it is. Alright, level 12. Another specialization point. Almost got health regen. And you can see this isn't actually going to unlock for quite a while, till level 20. Well, till we have 20 passive points allocated. Don't don't really want any sort of ward gained on ally death. The chance is only 10%, and it'll only ever be 10%. I don't recommend going that route defensively unless you're a Lich. Could get even more minion attack speed and damage, but we're going to go ahead and start grabbing some more vitality and minion health. And for the zombie engine that we're going to be making, you'll actually want a fair bit of minion health. The zombies' damage actually will scale with their health. Most guides will tell you just to focus on minion attack speed and damage, because they're not really using zombies usually. Some guides will use zombies exclusively. But I tend to play them a little bit differently. They did recently get nerfed, unfortunately. They used to give, like, I think up to 5% of their maximum life as ward upon explosion. Maybe it's 3%, but it did get nerfed recently, unfortunately. It's still incredibly strong, but you're probably not going to be getting like 20,000 ward in endgame anymore. So we're Ring of Life, that's really nice. Minion damage and health. Help for us and physical resistance. Yeah, that's much better. This is much better than this silver ring. Let's throw this on. Resummon our minions. Cool. This is a really great start. We're finding lots of really good gear, which isn't always the case. But don't be discouraged if you don't.
Stay back.
This guy has a lot of AoEs, so again, just keep moving. So you'll want to watch out for any of those big circle abilities on the ground, but also try and keep him in your line of sight, because his animations also cue some of his attacks. Like that one right there, that wind up. And then when he holds out his staff, that'll be another one. See that little fire blast that he's doing? Does a lot of damage. And I would say for a Necromancer, before level 26, it's actually harder to use minions now while leveling. Just because of the changes to minion power, not starting till level 26. You used to start getting minion power from the get-go. Now you don't. In the endgame, they're ultimately actually still stronger than they used to be after the changes. But it's less, like, less powerful early on, so that you have to like actually make some choices and play the game while you're leveling. Because it used to be you just throw on your minions and you're done. Like you beat the campaign. They're just so easy to level with. But then inversely, they didn't scale as nicely late game. Especially physical skeletons. Oh. If you just went like pure physical skeletons, once you hit like level 85, 86, it really started to just feel bad. So we finally unlocked our idol slots, and we get our first idols, which is super nice. The ones that you get are completely random, so maybe we'll get something good. Minion poison damage, chance to poison on hit. That's completely useless for us because none of our minions are doing poison. 14% chance to gain 30 ward when hit, and 17% increased minion lightning damage. Lightning damage sucks, but we'll take the 30% chance to gain ward.
Godspeed with you.
You are welcome. Thanks for the passive point. Always wonderful to see. I think we'll go ahead and take this 5th point. It's really good, and we're feeling quite defensively versus that last boss. Didn't feel like we were ever in any danger, so we don't really need to focus on more defense right now. Let's sell this, and this, and this. What is that? That's interesting. It looks like it's for the Primalist. I don't remember seeing that, but then again, I don't play many druids, so... Whoa.
May I tear a smile upon you? Farewell.
Let's check this shop real quick before I forget.
Yes.
Hi. Not seeing anything too interesting, unfortunately. Now, depending on how things go for us and the equipment that we find, in the very late game, we may end up swapping from shield to like an intelligence stacking offhand, but only if we could get like 20 intelligence on it. Definitely during leveling we're going to be using shields. And probably we'll stay with them for endgame, but you never know. You might find some super amazing item that outweighs using a shield. If it has enough intelligence for ward retention. One of the things I do love about this game is you really, well, depending on how you play your characters, especially if you play in solo though, you really have to make choices on the fly depending on what you find. And to me that's so fun. Like, it just makes the game so interesting to me. I know that if I play with access to a stash with all my characters, I'll just save all the best items and just immediately give them to my new characters, and it won't be as interesting. And don't get me wrong, I love that's pretty nice. We're gonna crush that. I want that poison resistance. Aww. We didn't get the minion damage shard or the poison resistance. That's terrible. Unlucky. Unlucky. Nice. Alright, and now we have pure skeleton archers. Which is good. So let's go ahead and grab some of this. I don't know why I just resummoned them before taking that node. And I want to see what my minions' increased health is now. It's 91%. That's pretty good. I like about 400% for my zombies once we reach the end of the campaign, so that'll be one of our goals. I really like the music here. Smash. Reflective Shrine. That's really fun on Paladins. You reflect 300% of the damage that you take. So you could just literally stand there if you have like good health regen and just murder everything.
Feel my wrath.
I think there are even some builds that like try to scale reflect damage. It's pretty hard. Like the game obviously doesn't want you doing that. It wants you to like have to actually play it, the game itself. I know there used to be this one build where you would just stack reflect damage on all your items, and you'd make yourself like this super tanky character who only focuses on defense. And so like you would just have this terrible damage that would eventually kill everything, but you would never die yourself. It was an awful build, but it was interesting. Well, until you play it for like 4 or 5 hours in maps, and then you're like, okay, I hate myself playing this character, let's do something else. Jesus, that thing was tanky. Oh, what was that? Water Shrine? Mana Regen? I'm not even gonna bother with that one. Those are nice for mages, though. Or characters who are spamming skills. Actually, I guess it's pretty decent for every character that's not Necromancer. Our next focus for our skeletons is just going to be to get more of them. Mighty Leather Boots of Hope. Strength, Void, and Lightning Resistance. Not bad. We'll probably shatter that. And hopefully we get both resistant shards. Okay, Transplant got another level, so now we can get health regeneration, and I'll show you what that looks like. Grab some more minion health and vitality. Another Rune of Shattering, very nice. Let's see. I feel like I'm forgetting something important. Maybe not. You ever have that feeling though, where like you just randomly like I'm supposed to be doing something and then you have no idea what it is? Ooh, that's nice. Vitality and necrotic resistance. And health regen. And in physical damage. And chance to poison on hit. Ooh, hello. Intelligence, 25 health, 2 vitality, 18 health, and 14 lightning resistance. I think we'll take this one just because the lightning resistance is nice. Oh, well. I guess we'll shatter this one first. No, we didn't get the health shard. That one's not that great.
Feel my wrath.
Necromancer's Cage Soul of Embers, completely useless for us. And I should really pay attention instead of looking into items. Does that hurt? Okay. And we got some poison resistance at least. Intelligence, cold, and lightning res. We'll shatter that. Okay. Now this is an idol that we'd like to have. Because once we spec into minion fire damage, this will increase their damage, and it has some extra ward retention. That's kind of like an amazing idol for our build once we get to all of our skills set up for it. It's useless right now, but it'll be amazing later. Ouch. So yeah. I really need some void resistance. As you can see, things are starting to hurt pretty bad. Guardian's Charge. An extra 3% block chance, that's pretty good. Not good enough to warrant switching, but still pretty nice. So here's our first glyph of stability. Modifies the outcome of a craft, reducing the instability it adds by up to 60%. So these kind of glyphs, you want to save up a lot of them, and then once you have all the shards you want for a craft, you want to start using them right from the get-go, so you can throw in as many shards as possible. Pretty good. Just for the fizz and void resistance. I think we'll put this on for now. Just because we really need some void resistance. And we still have a little bit of fire. Not as much as I like, but 5% damage reduction is going to be much better than 0. Okay. Let's allocate our passive. Nice. Unlock Spirit Plague, which we don't care about in the slightest. Check the shrine. Critical shrine. Just hilarious because damage over time abilities don't crit. There's some poison resistance and armor, but I don't think it's that good. Yeah. So there's some void resistance. And a pretty decent chunk of armor. We'd lose quite a bit of health, though. Which I don't think is worth it.
Feel my wrath.
As you can see, we're taking quite a bit of damage. Part of that's because I'm standing in those AoEs that I shouldn't be standing in. But yeah, you can see why you really want void resistance at this point. You get like 5 rares who all spawn together in the same area. It can really really add up real quick. And if you're not paying attention, you very easily die to things like that. This is pretty tempting. It's a 5% increased flat health. Or total health, rather, as well as minion cold damage. And there's a very popular cold skeleton mage build, which freezes everything, and it's super defensive. But I want to play fire.
Greetings.
Alright, we'll pick up some new side quests.
Who are you?
And I think we'll go south first. In fact, before we do that, maybe we'll go ahead and end the video here. I think it's getting quite long. Almost 2 hours, so yeah. Let's go ahead and stop the video here. Thank you for watching if you did watch all the way through. And if you think this game looks interesting, I highly encourage you to try it out. It's a lot of fun, and if you like ARPGs, you'll love it. So see you next time.